Hi and welcome to this week's episode of Wellness TV, your weekly dose of health and well-being. And this week I'm going to talk to you about how flowers can help you feel great. Hi and welcome back to this week's episode. As I said, I'm going to talk to you about flowers. More specifically, I'm going to talk to you about flower essences. Now, some of you may have heard of flower essences before, particularly in the form of Rescue Remedy. It's one of the most well-known flower essences that we have. Rescue Remedy is part of a range called Bach flowers, which was developed by Edward Bach about 500 years ago, I think he developed that. And in more recent times, we now have Australian bush flowers, and these obviously come from Australia. They're the wildflowers of Australia. And it's using the essence, the energy of plants to help us feel better. Now, today I'm going to introduce you to another range of flower essences called Tribe of the Tree. Now, Tribe of the Tree has been developed by a friend of mine called Jane Tancred. Jane actually used to be one of my lecturers when I was studying to be a naturopath. So Jane is a very experienced and well-qualified naturopath, and she's worked all over the world. And today she's going to share with us a little bit about her flower essence range called Tribe of the Tree. Jane, thank you very much for joining me and being here.
Thank you for having me.
To talk about your Tribe of the Tree essences. Now, tell me, why did you start Tribe of the Tree? I mean, because we've already got flower essences. We've got Bach flowers and we've got bush flowers. Why did you start Tribe of the Tree?
The idea to start Tribe of the Tree didn't actually come directly from me. It was an idea that was put into my head while I was meditating, and I had for some time been very concerned about the effect of deforestation on the Amazon and the fact that we're losing medicinal plants over there at a rate of knots as we lose species of plants that have never been scientifically researched. And I did think for a while that maybe I should go down the academic route and try to find a way to help save the trees over there from the perspective of doing scientific research into their medicinal value. But it really wasn't very practical for me, and it really wasn't an idea that I would have been the right person to carry through because I'm not a scientist. So in meditation, it came to me that it would be very wise to make flower essences. The process is much less protracted than making scientifically proven herbal medicines, and that along the way I could raise some money for that cause, which I'm really passionate about. So my friend Scott joined me in my project, and we spent a couple of years after that researching how to do it and actually starting the process of developing the range. And along the way tested the products with many different people to see how they responded to them. And we quickly learnt that while that might have been the starting point, the much more important mission for Tribe of the Tree is the impact it can have on people's happiness and well-being.
So tell us what Tribe of the Tree is and give us a bit more of a background about how flower essences work. I mean, I know how flower essences work. I used them really, really successfully when I was in clinic. I use Bach flowers all of the time. So tell us what they are, how they work, and how your essences are different from, say, the Bach flowers and the bush flowers.
Sure. So they're an energetic form of herbal medicine, and they work very gently on emotional and spiritual and energetic issues. So to give you a sense of how that might work, if you've ever had a sense of walking into a room where there's been an argument or some tension and feeling that anxiety and stress in the air, then you're sensitive to how energy might influence you and your body. The flowers and trees each have their own energetic signature in just the same way that people or pets do. And what we do is we tap into that energetic vibration and translate it into the drops that you take. And then you take 7 drops under the tongue twice a day to take on that energy. And the effect of them tends to be that they gently bring you awareness to where patterns of behaviour or thought patterns might be different, or where what you're doing currently might not be helping you, and just gently point you in the right direction to start resolving those kinds of issues. So, very long time. Where we're different is that we're very new and very fresh. We're very aware of the issues that people are going through right now, and we believe that the best way to help people with healing is to help them become aware of what's going on for them and to do it in a light and fun way so that healing and progress becomes something joyful, not something stressful.
So, and I actually love the names of some of your remedies because, you know, having learnt all the bark flowers, it's like the bark flowers just use the name of the plant, you know, gentian, mimulus, aspen, and we had to learn what all of them meant and all the indications for them. And that was a lot of learning when I was back there studying all of those herbs as well. But you actually have some really fun names. Now, I've got one right here, and I don't know if anybody can see this, peekaboo. And you have some really fun names for your essences. Now, firstly, before you tell me a little bit about what each one of these do you use Australian plants?
Some of the plants in our range are Australian and others are international plants that have been domesticated here. We will be launching a couple of new ones later in the year, one that was developed in California and one that was developed in the UK. But at the moment, all the ones on sale as of this moment have been made in Australia. The ones that we developed last year are a few months down the track. They're still brewing and doing their thing.
So do you, I mean, because I know one of the things with the bush flowers is that they say because we're Australian, we have a more affinity to Australian plants. What's your opinion on that? Because obviously, yes, you're using some Australian plants, but you're also using some others. Is it because we're not truly Australian? I know. What's your opinion on that?
My personal experience has been... Sorry?
We're people of the world. Australians are really people of the world, aren't we?
Yeah. My personal experience has been that when I lived in the UK, I did very strongly feel that the bush flowers were much stronger for me than the bark flowers, and I put that down to that concept that you're talking about, that I was out of my usual place, and so that home energy really resonated with me. But that's about 15 years ago now. So what I've experienced with the Tribe of the Tree range is that plants that have very strong energy and lots of life force are very much the ones that have the greatest ability to offer healing. So my distinction isn't so much about whether it's an Australian plant or whether it's a British plant or an American plant. It's about how healthy is it, how vibrant is it, how much does it love living where it lives. And in the same way that you would find that, say, a domestic cat might have less vibrational force or less life force or charisma than, say, a tiger, it really does appear that domesticated plants that are grown in a garden type environment don't have as much life force as plants that are grown wild. And so that's where we really find our distinction.
Yeah, and I mean, really, nature doesn't know boundaries like we do, does it?
No, and we sometimes try to force boundaries on nature, and that's when it seems to lose its medicinal potency to me.
So, okay, so let's talk about a couple of your remedies, because I've looked into some of your remedies and I love your remedies. So let's talk about, I've picked 3 out that I want to go through today. Up and away. Tell us, what does up and away do for us?
So up and away is our most popular flower essence, and it's really beautiful to take during those times when you need a little bit of a prompt to help you remember that looking after yourself is your first priority. And I know that's a cause that's very close to your heart and your audience's heart. So this is a great essence to use, for example, for mums who might be feeling like all they're doing is looking after other people all day and never actually getting to themselves. It's also a great essence to use when you perhaps are talking to yourself negatively or have found yourself in a self-confidence boost. Great for helping you to detach from other people's energy and opinions, and also really good for helping you to have healthy, strong boundaries so that if you are, for example, being surrounded by people who are stressed or negative, you're able to say, well, actually, that's your problem, and not do it in a harsh way, but just to detach from that connection and not take it on for yourself.
Okay, so I need that one. Let's go to the next one. Lighten up, Buttercup. I probably need this one too.
Lighten up, Buttercup. Yeah. As you can probably guess from its name, Lighten Up Buttercup is all about cheering you up. It's a beautiful flower essence to take at times when you're feeling negative or grumpy or pessimistic, which obviously we all do. And part of its mission is to remind you that choosing to be happy is actually an option. You don't have to have an attitude of grumpiness and negativity unless you want to. So it's particularly beautiful essence to work with kids. So for example, if you are talking to a child who has that kind of overly serious sense that some kids get, or who's been through some kind of thing that's made them feel a bit withdrawn, it can be a really good remedy for cheering them up when they're sad or calming them down when they're grumpy.
And the next one, now I know this is a new one for you and I don't even think it's been released, but as soon as it is, I want some. Treasure Hunter.
Okay. Yes, Treasure Hunter is our new essence, so just launched in the last couple of days. And this is our essence to help people become aware that they are deeply worthy of abundance in all the forms that it takes. And whilst we often think about feeling rich being something that is caused due to external forces in our world, in reality, it's much more important that you feel rich on the inside than it is in your bank account. And one of the secrets to attracting wealth, according to the law of attraction, is to have a very deep sense of self-worth. So while Treasure Hunter is an abundance essence, what it's really doing is helping you to bring your awareness of how worthy you are into alignment with what you're projecting to the world, and therefore helping you to attract the best towards yourself.
And that's just so important, because I think particularly for women, quite often our self-worth is just, it isn't there. And I find that with so many of my clients and women that I'm speaking to, and when we're running businesses and when we struggle to make money and we struggle to build a business, quite often it comes down to our self-worth. We just don't think we're worth it.
Yeah.
We don't think we're good enough.
And for your audience who is in business, that translates in lots of different ways. It might translate into not setting your prices at the right rate to actually demonstrate your worthiness to the market. It might translate into taking on too much work because you don't want to say no, even though saying no would be the healthiest thing for you and your family. So there's many different ways that worthiness issue can translate into money. And my personal experience, having worked with the essence now with quite a number of business owners, is that helping to address that sense of worth can really make some big shifts for people who are in business for themselves.
So tell me, I know with bark flowers we can mix several bark flowers together when we've got quite a few different things going on with people. The purists would say no, you can't, but we do in clinic quite often put different essences, and I used to put them into bottles of herbs, and I used to find they work so well, so much, made the herbs so much more energetic and vibrant. Can you mix your essences, or you just address one issue at a time? Because I've got lots of issues to address. I've probably got to take bottles of it.
One thing that is different about our essences and the bark flowers or the bush flowers is that we only sell the bottles ready to take. Yep. And so each bottle comes to you ready for you personally or your client to take straight from the dropper. And we do that because, as I said, we very firmly believe that raising awareness about what's going on for you is a very important part of helping you to move forward. And each of our essences is accompanied by a channeled meditation or story that really supports that process. So what we find is that most people like to take one or two at a time. Occasionally people would like to take three, and that can work really well for them. But in the past, like you, I've put 6 and 7 different bark flowers in a herbal medicine. And we don't do that with ours because we think it would get confusing to your ability to concentrate and be aware of what's going on for you. And even as it is, often people say to us, I didn't think the medicine did anything, but my family says this, and this, and now I see they're right. So sometimes the effects are so subtle because it's so personal to what we're going through.
So really, it's about if there's lots of issues, it's really about layering, isn't it? And that's one thing we talk about the onion. You're just peeling the layers off, and you deal with the most present issue right now. And when you deal with that, sometimes other issues go, but if they're there, well, then you deal with the next issue and you just keep dealing until you're the perfect person. I don't think that actually ever happens, but it's the aim.
It is. It's always about forward growth and ongoing development. And in the case of our range, if there are multiple layers to be addressed, we usually will find that Up and Away, the confidence boosting, self-care boosting remedy, is the one to start with. And we find that once that self-love starts to be fostered and nurtured and allowed room to grow and develop, lots of other things become much easier to address.
So just before we finish, with what your experience, how long, and I know this is probably how long is a piece of string, how long does it take to notice a difference? Like, do I have to take a bottle of these essences for the next 6 months before I can kind of change, or do we start getting changes immediately?
It depends what's going on for you and how long it's been going on. So like you, when I was at college, I used to be taught that for every year that a problem's been present, it might need about a month to be addressed. We don't usually find that things take that long for people to notice a shift. So if, for example, you were using Lighten Up Buttercup for a small child who was having a bad time, we would expect that they would start to feel better, at least within an hour or two. And if that's a habit for them, we'd expect to start to see them getting a bit lighter and more optimistic over the period of, say, 3 to 6 weeks. If, on the other hand, you've been carrying some kind of deep personal pain for a very long time and this is the first time you've started exploring it, then yeah, it might take a bit longer, and also might be wise to do it really gently and slowly.
So, and I actually see this because I do a lot of NLP and lifeline techniques, so I could actually see that essences for me is a great support, because as we open up and delve into the subconscious mind and start to release some beliefs, having the support of the essences for, you know, people just to keep going, it's just going to make it a lot gentler, because sometimes when emotions come up, they can be pretty horrific for some people if they've been really brought them down. So that's where I can see that, you know, where with what I do, how essences can really help support people through that process.
Yeah, and there's 2 particular essences that might be relevant under that circumstance. So one of them is shock absorber, to help reground you after you've had that experience that feels a bit traumatic as you relive it. Or the other one that is quite commonly used in the type of clinical practice that you're talking about, where we're releasing old habits and old belief systems, is called baggage buster, and really helps people to lock in the changes they're making with their therapist so that they can continue to work through them without it all coming back again.
So you have so many remedies, and obviously we don't have time to go through all of them. So where can people find out more, either buy your remedies, or do you run workshops or something that teaches people about these remedies and how they work and how they can use them?
Absolutely. So you can visit our website at tribeofthetree.com.au. We're also on Facebook under the same name. And if you are keen to learn more about how the flower essences can help you and your family, and to recommend them for your friends or your clients, then please do think about coming along to our workshop. The next one is on the 17th of August, which is a Sunday in Sydney.
Okay, and I just want to just make the point that these essences are not just practitioner only, are they? They're available to the general public, correct?
That's correct. They can be purchased over our website, and lots of practitioners are starting to sell them too.
So thank you very much for sharing these essences, and they just do such wonderful things, and I absolutely love their names. I love their names because they really tell you what they're all about. Bach, you know, Edward Bach was a bit boring in his time, and he just had really boring names, but his Bach flowers work magnificently, and you know, I used to see immediate effects whenever I use flower essences. You know, within hours I would see an effect, and I know that your essences do the same type of thing. So thanks for joining me, and I thank everybody for watching us this week for Wellness TV, and I'll be back next week with another exciting video for you. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.